Welcome to the debrief, movie night edition.
Movie night edition.
I'm your host, Summer Hashmi, joined by my co-host,
Sophia Palumbo.
And we welcome all of our listeners today to our
comfy couch for movie night.
Yeah.
Got the candle lit.
Yep.
And our blankets, ready to tune in.
Yes. Popcorn was being made earlier.
Yeah.
Like, we were really in the movie night.
Yeah.
In the movie afternoon, I should say.
Yeah.
Vibes. But anyways.
For sure.
Let's get into it.
Right, so we watched a few documentaries. We watched Simone Biles Rising, which is her docu-series on Netflix.
Yes.
We watched the first two episodes. I know that a new episode's planning on coming out by the time we're recording it. Hasn't been released, so we watched the first two. We also watched Ladies First, which is a documentary that follows this woman in India as she...
Deepika Kumari, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's an archer, and so just as her...
That's so cool.
Yeah, it follows, like, kind of her rise, how she discovered archery, her wins, how she's preparing for... At that point, she's preparing for Tokyo 2020, so what happens there. And then we also watched Sprint. We watched the episode titled Queens, which is the second episode of the series, and it focused on Sha'Carri Richardson and Shericka Jackson, specifically as the episode we watched focused on their Diamond League competition in Poland. It's that me espresso. So we just kind of wanted to review, give our opinions on them, what we thought of the docs, what we thought of the stories. So yeah, let's start with Simone Biles Rising. I guess I'll go first on what I thought. So basically, the first two episodes, she took that time to reflect on what happened in Tokyo 2020 when she had to drop out. She gave basically a rundown of what she was going through at the time, why she made the decision that she made. But I guess the docuseries was already following her, or the doc team was following her at Tokyo 2020, so it was cool to see it kind of...
all unravel?
Yeah, in real time. We even got to see her call her mom and be like, I'm dropping out, and get her mom's reaction for that. So that was really...
That was really cool.
Really cool to see.
I think it was kind of, like, she was in a pretty tough spot. I think she was in a very vulnerable spot. Yeah. So the fact that she showcased that point of time to us was really cool.
Yeah.
We got to kind of see, like, a real glimpse of what it's like to be her and be in her brain and, like, what's going on, not just at the highs, but also at the low moments of being an athlete. Like, I know she's been very, like, vocal about, or not vocal per se, but just, like, you get a pretty good glimpse of kind of what's going on in her head, and she's pretty good at communicating that to us, I guess, as her fans.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Stans. So it's just kind of cool to see her journey through Tokyo, not just the... Because we know she wins. She's great at what she does. So it's cool to kind of see the human side of her.
For sure.
In that respect.
I think that, like, she's very aware of the pedestal that she's on. Yeah. Like, she's aware that people have very, very high expectations for her. And as a viewer, it's easy to just be like, oh, Simone's in the competition, like, she'll get gold. Yeah. Like, for us, it's what we expect. It's like, oh, like, we don't even have to worry about it. But for her, that's a competition that she has to train years for. She puts that pressure on herself to perform. She needs to turn to her support systems for that support. She has to work with a sports psychologist, her coaches. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that it's just easy to be like, oh yeah, Simone will win.
Yeah.
But for her, it's like, oh, Simone will win. Like she has to put herself in that position all the time.
When eyes on you and every single move
keeps taking the sport to new heights.
Every single skill, it is done with ease
people talking about you. You know, your favorite to win. You're gonna win.
We have gotten so spoiled, seeing this over and over.
She keeps taking it higher and higher.
People break down.
I remember when it actually happened, like all the fans around her were not backing her up.
Yeah.
They were not rallying around her. They were like, well, why is she doing this? She shouldn't be doing this. She can kill it. Like, this kind of gave us a chance to step back and see, like, what was going on in her brain and what was going on in that moment.
Right. And it's just like, just because you as a fan believe in her, it doesn't mean that she believes in herself.
I'm sorry, as a fan, you're not going into that competition. You have no idea, unless you're a gymnast yourself, what a mental game it really is. Right? So it's like, if you're not in a good place mentally, you're not gonna perform. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, well, then it's one of those, like, it's a lose-lose situation where she goes into this, let's say she went in and she performed and she didn't do well. Then the world would be like, well, why didn't you drop out? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's like that.
Well, she did that first vault and she fumbled on it. She didn't sink the landing, and it was an easy vault. Like, she was supposed to do something harder, but she didn't feel right. She's like, okay, I'll do something that I feel comfortable with. And even the thing that she felt comfortable with, she messed up. And in the doc, she said, specifically on that vault, to me, it felt silent. I was in jail with my own brain.
Simone Biles.
Wow. Never in my life have I seen her do that. Never.
So she obviously was not doing well. We even saw clips of her, like, crying in her hotel room.
Yeah.
Like, it was not... She didn't make this decision easily, but it was great to see that her coaches and her friends and her teammates still stood beside her. Like, her coach said, only great athletes can make this decision.
Because it's so tough.
Yeah.
Like, think about this in this perspective. You spend 4 years, probably more, training to get to this point.
Yeah.
You're looking for, this is your big competition. Like, I know before every hockey game, I get, like, these, like, butterflies, like, this little rush of adrenaline. So you're training, this is, like, your big competition. This is your, like, it's the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
And, like, you train so hard, you finally get there, and you're not ready to do it.
Yeah.
Like, all that hard work almost goes down the drain.
Yeah, she even said, like, why is this happening now? Why didn't this happen 2 years ago or a year ago when it, like, why is this happening now at the Olympics for me to get the twisties?
Yeah.
Like, why does this have to be happening at this time?
Exactly.
And she talked how hard it was for her because of COVID. Her family wasn't there. Her friends weren't there. The only people that she had were her coaches and her teammates, who are great, but at the end of the day, she's used to having her family in the stands. And her mom even said this was the first meet ever where I wasn't in the stands for her.
And that's probably huge.
Yeah, and she was talking about how her mom does her hair before every meet. So I feel like that's part of, like, that ritual, and so she didn't have her mom to do that for her this meet. And it like, little stuff like that, it throws you off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm very superstitious.
Right.
So, like, there's a certain, like, everything from, like, what I wear, the music I listen to, in what order. It has to be in a very specific order. I put my equipment on right to left. And if I put the left on by accident, I take everything off and do it again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very superstitious. So, something like that, not being there, not being able to do her hair, like, it's a little thing to the average person, but I guarantee you, to her, it meant the world.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And she was, like, talking about this, about gymnastics and the flips that she has to do. She was like, most of the time, I'm just trying not to die, which I thought was funny, but it's also, like she was laughing when she said it, but it's, like, when you really think about it and put it into perspective what these gymnasts have to do.
The way they have to move their body. Yeah. Like, think about the oh my goodness, what is it called? The poles.
The bars?
Yeah, the bars. Yeah. Oh my God. Imagine, you don't grab onto that bar, you're flying and you can break your neck. You can break your neck doing flips. You can also bang your head on that bar.
All 4 of those events, there's times when your head is, like, you can flip over.
And break your neck at any point.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
are fully reversed.
Yeah.
Like your feet are to the air.
Yeah.
So it's just, it really is a life and death situation playing this sport. And that's what she said. She's like, it was literally a safety issue.
Yes.
She said, I'm just trying not to die. Like, I could have died out there. Like, I knew I couldn't do it, so I didn't force myself.
And I think, like, as much as people are going to hate on that, I think she made the right choice.
Yeah.
She did what was best for her. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Joe on the sofa with his potato chips is not competing.
Yeah.
So he should have no say as to whether or not she feels ready. Because last I checked, you're not doing the vault. She is. Leave her alone.
Right. And it was also cool because she talked about the beauty standard that lives in gymnastics, especially for her as a black woman. She's under a lot of different critiques that aren't there for white women. And the standard is a skinny white girl.
Who's tall.
Yeah, with like perfect hair and a perfect bun or a perfect ponytail. And she's like, that's not me. Like, she's talked about the hate that she would receive for her hair specifically. She said, people hate my hair for meet days, saying stuff like her hair is all over the place. Look at it. It's crazy. But then again, we do it by ourselves. We're not professionals. You just can't win.
Well, yeah, navigating hair, like, their hair is, the whole texture is different.
Yeah.
So how I might style my hair into a bun is very different. Like, the steps, right? Like, the products, the steps, the way you go about it is very different. So, like...
Yeah, she talked about how she feels, and they interviewed other black gymnasts, past people from the past, like Betty Aquino and Dominique Dawes, who were the first two black women to compete on the Olympic gymnastics team for the USA, and that wasn't until 1992.
That is insane.
Yeah, and so they all talked about how they feel like they are inherently outside of the possibility of beauty because the beauty standard is, like I said, that skinny white girl with, like, the perfect hair.
Straight hair,
Yeah. So they all talked about how, on top of trying to perform for their sport, they have to deal with that pressure of still looking good and fitting in that way.
Yeah.
Which I can't imagine having to deal with that, especially in gymnastics, which is definitely a historically white
dominated
sport.
Yeah. And it's hard because we also don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to deal with those issues.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, to be in there, like, in terms of the beauty standard, I kind of understand a little bit. But even again, like, it's still very different what they have to go through. And so I guarantee you, not having her mom there to do her hair, like you said, they're not professionals.
Yeah.
Right? So not having your mom there to do your hair, when your hair, like, not to say that it's a huge part, but
it's part of that routine, like...
Yeah,
it's a look good, feel good thing, too.
Yeah. It is still a big piece of the pie.
Yeah. And they also just highlighted how it's, like, since Betty Aquino, Dominique Dawes, like, it's been, like, okay for black women to succeed in gymnastics, but only in the shadow of a white teammate. Yeah. And so it wasn't until when Gabby Douglas won the overall individual gold medal in London 2012 that, like, she was the first black woman to do this. That is
crazy.
Yeah.
2012?
Yeah.
That was 12 years ago.
Yeah. But even when she did win, everybody was talking again about her hair, and she was getting critiqued for how her hair looked. It's like she just won the individual all-around gold medal. And y'all are talking about this?
Bro, people will never be happy.
Yeah.
People will never be happy. Like, they need to leave these athletes alone.
Yeah.
I've said this before on here, and I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
You are not playing the sport. Sit on your couch and enjoy it quietly. Don't make a fuss. Yeah. Let them do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Let them do what they need to do. Let them wear what they want to wear. Let them do their hair how they want to do their hair. That's their business. You are the last person to be talking, because I guarantee you on the couch right there, Joe, cannot do what Gabby Douglas can do. Cannot do what Simone Biles can do.
Of course not.
So, like, just be quiet and sit down and enjoy the show.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was happy that they highlighted the history of it. Obviously, it's Simone focused, but that is definitely
That's a huge part of her identity.
Yeah, and she talked about how she didn't feel like she had any black woman to look up to in gymnastics.
And in that sense, I can relate.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't really know any brown women who played hockey.
Yeah.
So, like, having that person there, because at the end of the day, Simone Biles' experience versus even Sunny Lee's experience are very different in the gymnastic world. How they go about, they both don't have very much representation, right? So, especially living in places like Canada and the US, like, it's tough to kind of find that role model and to kind of find that. And so, when people like your mom are not there, I guarantee you there's that, like...
Yeah, like, those were definitely... I'm really happy that they talked about that, but those were definitely my favorite scenes, her scenes with her mom. Like, they showed her mom doing her hair for a meet or a practice, and then, again, that phone call when she was calling her mom and telling her that she's going to withdraw. Her mom was so sweet and so supportive, and she was basically like, if you don't feel comfortable, then don't force yourself. It was just the sweetest thing ever. Like, it honestly got me a bit emotional, like just that she just loves Simone so much, and she wasn't that, like, controlling kind of, no, like, you can do it, like, force yourself kind of thing. Like,
those parents are the
so
craziest.
Sweet.
Those parents are the craziest. So seeing, like, characters like Simone's mom are, like, it's so nice to see a non-dance mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, exactly. That's, like, dance mom that's what I think of when I think of, like...
Yeah.
That style of
parenting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, like, her mom was very different. And it's, like, it's cool to kind of
see a chill
response to that. Like, think about this. Your daughter, as a parent, you're spending time, energy, money, effort, like, putting in all that time, money, energy, and effort into your child.
Yeah.
They make it to the Olympics. Yeah. And then they're on the phone with you like, Mom, I can't do it.
And she was still like, it's okay.
Like, girly.
It's okay.
She's like, girly, chill. Yeah. Like, you got this. But it's also okay to, like...
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So I love that we got to see that. We also got to see a bit of her WAG lifestyle. Like, she went to Jonathan Owens, Mr. Simone Biles. She went to one of his games.
Yeah.
And she was so cute. She was like, it's nice to come here and relate to the other girls, and it's not just about gymnastics or me. So I think that she finds community in the WAGs. Like, you see her up there in the booth with them, and they're all, like, wearing their jackets and cheering. Like, she looked like she was having a really good time. So I was happy that we also got to see that side of her.
My favorite, as basic as it is like, that little intro part where the confetti's going off.
Yeah.
Right? She walks into Tokyo.
Yeah.
She's waving, and then you see little flashbacks to her as a kid.
Yeah.
It's nice to kind of... Like, we know her, but we don't really know her.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's kind of like... It's kind of nice to see that.
Yeah.
That little time lapse of her as a kid.
Yeah, we definitely got that backstage look into her life. And it seemed very genuine. She seemed like she was being herself in front of the camera and everything. Yeah. So I was really happy that we got to see all of that.
Yeah. And I also liked, like, towards the end, I think, of the first episode... like, you got to see a bit of her and Jonathan's lifestyle.
Yeah, they were, like, eating dinner together, eating lunch. It was really cute.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice to see, like, the athletes outside of their...
sport.
Yeah.
And just being normal people eating lunch together.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, we put them on this pedestal.
Right.
But we have to remember they're just human.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
100%.
But I guess this takes us into our next doc review.
Right. So the next one that we watched was Ladies First. Again, this follows the archer. Her name again, please, Summer.
Oh my lord. Deepika Kumari.
Yes. So this followed her story. She came from a small very rural town in India, very poor family, and she basically got into archery just like pretty randomly. It wasn't something that she grew up around, but she heard about this camp and she wanted to get out of her house. She didn't want to get married off at 18, she said. So she was like, I'm going to try to pursue archery. And she even said to like the owner of the facility, like, just give me a shot, and if I don't meet your expectations, fine, kick me out, but just give me that shot. Like, I will be better. Yeah, let me try, and I will be better than the boys, I promise. And she proved herself. She got gold at all sorts of international meets, broke records. Like, she was really incredible, and it was great to see her story.
Yeah, it was cool to see the fact that despite the hardships and the societal expectations kind of imposed on her, like, the doc kind of reflected her journey in the sense that you saw her resilience, the empowerment, and, like, her pursuit of, like, excellence in the face of adversity.
Right.
Right? So it was kind of nice to see a positive story.
For sure.
And them not focus on just... It was cool for them to focus on, of course, like, her competing against... Or being in a position where she had to prove herself against the guys.
Right.
But it was nice to see them just focus on her. Like, that didn't take away from all that she... Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like...
Yeah, like, that wasn't the main focus.
Yeah.
About trying to, like...
Like, it was a piece of the story.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the entire story.
Right. And she definitely did talk about the sexism that she's faced and how it's, like, basically considered in India that girls shouldn't be playing sports.
Yeah, it's not very common over
they
there.
should stick to the home. Like, she felt that she was like, these people, they don't even know what they're talking about. They're ridiculous. Like, she denounced all those comments that she would be receiving.
She's from, like, rural India, right?
Yeah.
And rural India is, like, you have to remember it's a very simple lifestyle over there.
Yeah.
Most of them don't even leave their villages.
Right.
They live in their village their entire life.
Yeah.
And they go from being the daughter of the farmer to the wife of the farmer.
Right. She was talking about how women don't really work.
No, that's not
and
a
that
thing.
her mom was working, and her mom was an exception to this, but her uncle would beat her because she was working.
Yeah.
She was like, I have to get out of here.
Yeah. It's like... and the other half of that is, like, domestic violence is, like, very common there.
Yeah.
But it's not talked about.
Mm-hmm.
It's, like, taboo.
Yeah. Which was great of her and her mom to be willing to
share
talk
that.
about this. Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, but she's right. Like, it's not common for women to work over there. It's very, like, depending, actually, that's a lie. It depends on where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the main cities, it's normal. They're just as, like, in India and Pakistan, like, in like, cities like Bombay and Mumbai and Karachi and Islamabad, it's very common for women to work.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're living in a rural village like Bihar, like
I believe her village is called Ratu.
Yeah. So like,
or maybe that was her province, but
and that's definitely her village. But like in spaces like that, it's not common for women to work. And the women that do work are kind of like, they're like not outsiders, but they're kind of like the black sheeps of the family.
Right.
And it's like, it's not common. Like, for example, my grandfather, he's from a village in India called Bihar.
Mm-hmm.
And his mom, the women in his family, they didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
They cooked, they cleaned, they did the laundry. They were homemakers.
Yeah.
And the husbands, they were farmers, they were hunters,
Mm-hmm.
and so, or doctors, right? Like they did the jobs within the community.
For sure.
So, like, to see that she kind of was able to exit that lifestyle and not save herself, but, like, she was able to kind of get out of that
Yeah.
and open up other opportunities and possibilities for herself.
Yeah, and all odds were against her. They gave
Oh,
a
yeah.
stat that less than 1% of girls play organized sport in India.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Because I see it here.
Yeah.
I see it here.
And they were talking about no woman from India has ever won an Olympic gold. And then they even highlighted the surrounding countries around India, which is a population of roughly like 1.5 billion women, and none of them have ever won an Olympic gold either.
Because there's not many.
Yeah.
There's not many women who even compete at the Olympics for India. Like Team India doesn't have that many athletes to begin with that go out and compete at the Olympic level. But at the Paris 2024 Olympics, there were 117 athletes in 16 sports disciplines, and there were 70 men and 47 women.
Yeah.
So when you compare that to the U.S., who has about 300 Olympic athletes, right? There's 592 people on the Olympic team in general, 314 women.
Yeah.
So there's more women on the U.S. team than there is even on Team India.
Yeah, and she talked about this. She said Western girls. She said at international meets, the Western girls, they just seem a lot more confident. And she was like, it's because they grow up with different ideals about womanhood. They're growing up in a different society that is more empowering towards women. And she sees that, she feels like that reflects in her performance because they go out there with a lot more, like I said, confidence. And she wasn't brought up to have that confidence, especially in sport.
Well, I believe that because my mom, for example, she grew up, born and raised here in Canada, but her parents were immigrants. They were from Pakistan. And my grandmother played field hockey in college, which is not very common for women. But, yeah, like she heard in her entire life, women don't play sports. Girls don't play sports.
Yeah.
And my mom was relatively athletic. She was interested in sports.
Yeah.
She was good at softball and skating, and she enjoyed stuff like that. But her whole life she was told, girls don't play sports. Women don't play sports. We're at home.
Right.
And so 100% that affects your confidence. And so she made it a point to make sure that all three of me and my sisters, like all three of us, were in sports and involved in sports. Because, like...
It's great that she was able to... That she didn't want that for you guys. She wanted better for you guys.
Yeah. Well, she's a phys ed teacher now, right? So, like, she definitely believes in physical literacy, and, staying healthy and active and living healthy and active lifestyles and playing sports. And it's disappointing to see that over the years that still hasn't changed. And I don't think it will change. Because they're still, I feel like, in this it's changed a lot over time, but the way their society is structured is very patriarchal.
Yeah.
It's still like that. It's slowly changing, but it's going to take a lot more time for them to get to this level.
100%.
Because we're very liberal.
Yeah.
Sometimes even too liberal, if you ask me, but that's another discussion.
Well, let's move on to our final doc that we watched. Again, we watched episode 2 of the series Sprint. This one was called Queens. I loved this one. I loved all of them, but I just thought that this one, sprinting is not really a sport that I only really think about it come Olympics. It's not one that I'm thinking about a lot, so it was really cool to see. Well, the series follows like the Diamond League, the World Championships, eventually the Olympics. So it was just really cool that they structured it that way. The episode that we watched focused on a Diamond League competition, especially the rivalry between the USA and Jamaica. And then the leaders of the two women's teams, which are Sharika Jackson for Jamaica and Sha'Carri Richardson for the USA.
Yeah.
So I like that we got a behind-the-scenes look and the backstory to the both of them. It didn't just focus on one or try to frame one of them as, like, the hero and the other one as the villain.
Yeah.
I like that we got to see both of them. And then in the end, that race, Sha'Carri did win, although it was very close.
Okay, before we get into the doc, I love Sha'Carri.
Yeah.
She's such a fun character.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but I think
know.
she's just so lovable and she's so funny.
Yeah, she's so cute. Like, at one point they were talking about, like, the producer or whoever asked her, like, how do you feel about, like, shit talking and sprinting? And she was like, I wish there was more of it. We don't do it enough. Like,
oh, she's so
and then
funny.
they showed clips of her and, like, during a group workout, egging on her teammates, the men, not just the women, the men and the women. So
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
So I was super happy that, like, we got to definitely see all sides to her.
Yeah.
And she will be very open with the media about how she feels. And so I like that we got to have her explanation basically about kind of how the media affects her and why, like, she's so honest and open with them, which I think is a good thing because they can definitely overstep. And she's someone to put them back in their place.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Well, we kind of talk about how, like, she owns not only just her attitude in front of the media, but her appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I know in the docuseries she talks a lot about that. Or not in this episode, sorry. She talks a lot about that and that making her feel good. I know you had a quote that stood out to you. We were talking about it earlier.
Right. Basically, your thing is look good, feel good. And she said it again in this doc. She said, I live by the saying, look good, feel good, do good. Who said you can't effing be sexy on the track?
I agree with her.
I agree with her, too.
There's no reason.
I love it.
And I loved how it followed with a montage of her and, like, her favorite fits.
Yeah. Like, her photo shoots. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, and she's right, bro. Who did say that? Yeah. Have your hair done. Have your nails done. Like,
the other thing is, I'm sorry, again, Joe with the potato bag chips.
Yeah.
Or the bag of potato chips. Oh, my goodness. Who are you to tell me what to wear or not to wear?
Yeah.
Calm down. Calm down.
Yeah, so I like that she talked about that, because that's definitely it's a big part of her image and the persona that she's created.
Yeah.
Which is something else interesting that they talked about. Sprinting is a sport. There's a lot of attitude involved.
Oh,
and there's a lot of, like when you cross the finish line, giving a quick glance to the people next to you.
Well, I feel like that could like, make or break you, get into somebody's head, right?
Yeah, exactly. They do a lot of mind games. Like, there's a lot of tea and drama with them. Like, they will...
Which is, like, I feel like that's the least expected.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know a lot of track and field girlies, and they're so sweet. They're, like, the sweetest people I know. So, like, to see that side of them is just so funny.
Yeah, but I feel like, that's a sport where you kind of have to build up, like, an air about you.
Yeah.
And she even said the persona of the sport, it helps with the reality of it and what you have to go through. It helps with directing that energy.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of, I don't want to say a mask that she puts on, but, like, just in the sport in general, like, you have to be so tough because there will be people chirping you.
Well, and you so see you all the tweets that she talks about, right? Like, there was one that kind of mentioned... like, I told y'all, Sha'Carri Richardson is overhyped.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, her response to that was, I'm only human.
Yeah.
And, like, I think she does a good job of talking about, and this is something she highlights that I love, she talks about athletes being human.
Yeah.
In the media.
Right.
Right? And, like, she's talking to the media, she's like, y'all put cameras up in my face and have no respect for me. But you have to remember, I'm only... just a person.
Right.
And I think, like, one of our sport media props brought in a guest. I can't remember who it was at the time. But he even told us, he's like, as sport media personalities, the best way you can connect with, as the media, you can connect with these athletes is making them human. The second you kind of put them above you, and you put them on that pedestal, and you make them seem like they're that godly, like, figure, they get annoyed with you.
Yeah.
Because they just want to be treated like every other person.
Right.
They're just, at the end of the day, again, human.
Right. So, yeah, me too. I was really happy that she talked about that. I love that we got to see Shericka Jackson as well, see more of her personality. I know that Sha'Carri, especially, like, in Canada, we hear more about her. So I was happy that we got to know Sharika Jackson a little better as well. And kind of just Team Jamaica as well, getting to know those girls. They all just seem so sweet. Like they all just seem like besties.
Oh
like,
yeah. I get what you mean when you say that.
Yeah, so it was cool to just have that kind of deep dive into that rivalry, get to understand it more, get to talk to their coaches who are all, it seems like they all have a really great relationship with them.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of mutual respect. So I was happy that we got to see that as well.
Yeah, well, it's Coach Mitchell, right? I think.
Yes.
He's just like, he looks like a big old softy.
Yeah.
He looks like a big old softy the way he talks. Like, he talks to them with respect and stuff, but he also knows just right when to push them.
Right.
Just the right amount.
Right.
To make them keep kind of going. But he's a big old softy, in my opinion.
From what we saw, like, he never talked down to them or anything like that. Never tried to, like... He treated them like equals.
Yeah, he's not a toxic gymnastics coach.
Yeah.
That much is true.
Yeah. So yeah, I was happy that we got to see even a bit of his home life. So yeah, I thought all three, I love them all. I thought we got a really good understanding of all of those athletes. They talked about things that we don't hear them typically talking about. So I felt like the docs really gave that backstage look.
I'm not a huge doc girly.
Yeah.
I know you are.
Yeah.
You get fascinated by this stuff, but yeah, docs are not really for me, but I enjoyed them.
Right.
And I kind of liked being people that are so obsessed with sports the way we are.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool to see, like, all the moments that aren't usually talked about.
Right.
Like, you talked about Simone Biles and her crying, and it's nice to kind of see a more human side of them.
100%, yeah.
Even with Sharika, like, you get to see a little bit of Jamaica.
Yeah.
And you get to see her home life.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's nice to kind of see them outside of just, like, their sport.
Right.
Like, even with Simone, like, you see her with Owen.
Jonathan Owens,
right?
Yeah.
See, he's still Mr. Simone Biles to me, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know his name. No, Jonathan Owens. But, like, it's kind of cool to see that side of her, right? Because, again, like, it's not really talked about a lot.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of cool to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that they all did a really great job of giving that behind-the-scenes look, humanifying.
Yeah.
Humanizing, that's the word. Humanizing the athletes. Yeah, loved them all.
Okay, I guess this takes us into our Hype Queen of the Week segment.
Right.
I know we talked about some amazing women today, but besides these girls, who do you think is your Hype Queen of the Week?
Well, she was in the Sprint documentary a bit. Twanisha Terry, TT Terry is her nickname. She was one of Sha'Carri's teammates. Mm-hmm. In the doc, we got to see a bit of their dynamic and their friendship. They look like besties. They just seem really supportive of each other. She's
so
obviously
nice to see teammates like that.
Yeah, like she's obviously an amazing sprinter herself. We just saw her at the Olympics. So I think that she's my hype queen just because they looked like whenever Sha'Carri was there, we saw TT with her. Yeah. So it just looks like bestie girl teammates, always supporting each other. So I just love to see that. So yeah, I'm going with her for my hype queen of the week.
I was thinking about Sunny Lee for that reason too.
Yeah.
Because she's one of Simone's besties, and you see her a little bit, not a lot, in the Simone's doc, but again, she's a good one. But she's not my hype queen. Just an honorable mention this week. My hype queen has to be Paige Beckers. I know she's not on in any of the docs today, but she's pretty active on socials from what I see.
Yeah.
And I like that we see other sides of her.
Right.
Besides that, the athletic side. Like there was a tweet that she tweeted, I think she tagged it was the NFL. The NFL flew her out to a game, and literally the next day she was in class again.
Yeah.
Right? So it was like, thanks NFL for getting me. I was at class on time.
Yeah.
Basically was what the tweet was supposed to say.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of nice that you see like the student side of her, And then when she was injured, of course, like you see more than just
She'll
Paige
bear it
Becker's.
all,
Yeah. It's not
She's
just
very
Paige.
open.
Yeah. It's not just Paige Becker's, the basketball players. It's Paige Becker's, the person featuring the basketball player.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see that. So that's why she's my hype queen.
Yeah, she's fun. She definitely has a lot of fans.
Yes.
She has a very dedicated fandom online.
I can't wait to kind of see what she does in the W.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess this wraps our episode up. Don't forget to follow us on the Debrief Pod 2024 on IG. Check out our website for more debrief content. And today's prompt or question of the day is going to be, what is your favorite doc featuring a female athlete?
Yeah.
Who's it featuring? And why
do you love it?
Yeah. Give us some doc recommendations.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love that.
Yeah. But it's been fun talking to you guys. And we can't wait to see you next week. Bye.
Yep. Thank you guys. Bye.